Hello, citizens of YouTube. This is the Geeky Nerd here. And today we're going to be talking about one of my all-time favorite rifles that is just to die for. It's not for everybody, but for me, it's just perfect. So, first thing here, we will safety check. It's kind of a pain in the rear, but there we go. All clear. So, that brings us into our first thing. Tavor is a bullpup configuration. For those of you that don't know, a bullpup configuration in any type of rifle basically means that the trigger, where the pew pew happens. Well, actually, pew pew happens up there, but this is where you make it go pew pew. The actual action where all the explosions and all the goodness is happening is behind the trigger group. So as you saw there, when we're safety checking this rifle, charger handle's up here, action's back here. To where, unlike a standard AR, when you have the grip, you pull it, but the action is ahead of where you're firing at. Now, why do they do that? One is that this whole rifle, as you see here, is it's a full-size rifle. It has a 16.5-inch barrel, per all the regulations out there. But this, from tip to rear, is the exact same length as a 14.5-inch or less AR, depending on the AR with the muzzle brake and the stock and all that fun stuff. But basically, it is almost like an SBR without needing to be SBR'd, because the overall length, meets the requirement. Plus, it has that 16.5-inch barrel, because the barrel goes here, but it traverses over top of your hand and comes back here. So you're able to basically pull the whole front of the gun into the rear, but still keep that compact, and it's just amazing. Can't tell? I love bullpups. Few people that I love watching, like Brandon Herrera, the AK guy, love him. Obviously, I love AKs, but he hates bullpups, because they're kind of awkward, they are kind of weird, they are non-standard, and I get that. But I mean, once you pick up, especially this Tavor, especially all Tavors, it's just something about them. You just gushing over this gun. Now, let's give the review here from the here. We'll start from the rear. So, as you see, it has a standard. Let me rephrase that. Not a standard. It has a fixed length of pull. Now, that's one con against a bullpup is you don't have adjustable stocks. There is no adjustability. However, especially at least in my case, when you shoulder the rifle, it actually fits perfectly into the pocket, and I'm not feeling like a T-Rex with crunched up arms or like Stretch Armstrong all the way out there. So I find a good happy middle ground, but you can't adjust it. So if you are one of the people who are on the taller end or on the shorter end of the spectrum, you may find it a bit uncomfortable. But I'll get into one way it kind of mitigates that in a second. So on the rear here, it just has a rubber butt pad. This is actually where all the action comes out of. Moving on up, it has a QD sling swivel mount. It is anti-rotation, which is nice. This right here is your bolt release, and it's also your bolt catch. So when the gun runs empty, will I be able to do this? So pull it back. Hard to do on camera. You basically pull this part down, and it's going to capture that bolt. So bolt's locked to the rear, and you have this little piece sticking out. Now, you may say, oh, that's kind of weird, but it's ingenious in how it works. Now, you really don't have to lock the bolt in the rear that often. It's mainly just pull this back while mag's in there, cock it, you're ready to go. What happens is when you have a magazine, which just work with me here, use your imagination. I know you got it in you. Is once you insert your magazine, once you get it there, you basically just take your thumb, push up, there you go. You in one single motion, you let go of the bolt. You didn't have to do anything. All of this can be done while, of course, keeping your hand on the pistol grip. So when you have your hand on the pistol grip, you can go bop, bop, done, good to go, bang. So that's a nice, neat little feature. It is a little weird, does take some training. And if there's one thing that I will definitely say about Tavors or bullpups in general, is you have to train with them. They are not like your standard rifles, but once you train with them and become proficient, it runs like any other gun. Moving on up, we have the magazine release. So looks kind of funky, right? Well, you see a little action there, releasing the magazine. What this was actually intended for when the Israelis were making this from IWI is that when you had your finger or when you had your grip on the trigger, you could basically rock back and release your mag. So you don't even need to get a second hand or anything like that. Now, the ARs, I will say, are nice. And this is a Tavor SAR. Let me rephrase that. It's a Tavor SAR, but the current model generation that they make is called the X95, so it does actually have a standard AR magazine release, which is nice. So you actuate it up here and it drops it down here. It's a little freaky, but I prefer the SAR configuration just because I like the authenticness of it, and I just like this weird little quirk, and I've come in training to be able to use this effectively. Now, what you can do also is when you have a magazine in there, you can just grip it and rip it out. Really depends on however you want to do it. Now, moving on up, we have safety selector, so just safe fire. Does not have the giggle switch, but you can see there it wants to. Does have that other stop there. Moving on up, it has another QD mount, and it has your charging handle, which for those of you that don't know, charging handle does not reciprocate. So once you go, it's ready to go. It's locked up. Now, one thing I did notice when I first got this is I was like, why isn't it going up? It's actually, if you see there, it does have a little spring tab, so you push it and it will lock into place. And then once you let go, but in a standard configuration, once you just let go, it will lock in place. Keep going up here. This looks like a button, and it's actually not. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was the Israeli Special Forces, which, if I didn't mention before, this is in some sects of IWI or IMI, or the just Israeli Defense, or IDF. IWI is the American-made company, Israeli Weapons Industries. IMI, Israeli Military Industries, is one that supplies the weapons for the IDF, Israeli Defense Force. Whew. Gosh, darn it, the acronyms. This is in some circles, some sects of their divisions. Their standard issue rifle. They do also run M4s, but this was designed from the ground up to work in a harsh, bad as hell, deserty environment, just worst possible circumstances you can imagine. And if anybody knows what a good rifle is, that I think it's going to be the Israelis. They've been at it for some would say a bit now. So just a little another little feather in the Tavor's hat. Got off track there. Sorry. Yeah. So it's a it looks like a button. It's actually not. I believe the IDF has a mechanism for like a laser flashlight, which you can get aftermarket grips where you can put a flashlight that actually seats in here, and you can actuate it via the little button here. It does have a bayonet lug. Although if you're getting this close with somebody with a Tavor and you got to get to bayonet length, something has gone horribly wrong. Flipping the rifle over, you can see here it just does have a pick rail, so you can add a flashlight. You can't really adjust it, but it's there. Same going back here. Your ejector port, your kicker, and one thing I forgot to mention is you can make this ambidextrous. So if you ever want, you can actually take this, swap this over here, and you can move this cover, or you can move this cover over to here. So it will, it does go back and forth. So it is fully ambidextrous in that sense. Same thing with the safety selector and all that, which is good for you southpaws out there. Now, for those of you that have a keen eye, you might notice something looks a little weird on this top rail. It's actually backup iron sights. How cool is that, guys? So the iron sights are actually integrated in iron directly in the rails, and they just flip up. You can kind of see how they just have a different color, and they're just fantastic. Now, of course, if you're trying to run some standard or not standard, if you're trying to run some like air optics, things like that, and you try to get as far back as you can, it will interfere with this. So if you are doing something like that, I would recommend using a QD mount so that we could pop that scope off should the need arise. But But how I traditionally run this, I don't have it on there now. I use a Mepro Light M21, which is essentially a tritium optic that mounts in the center. It's a reflex optic, and it's actually what comes standard on this rifle when issued by the IDF. One also thing I will say about the sight post is it does have a little, if you can see it, it does have a little tritium insert in there. You can kind of almost see it. Yeah, there you go. And it does glow. It's not obviously the brightest, just, given the whole situation of it, but you do have it. It is a nice little thing. And they are spring actuated. So it's a nice, good thing here. One also thing I will say about the Tavor is it is ridiculously reliable. And one thing that aids in that reliability is it's actually a short stroke gas piston. What that basically means is the gas is bled off of the barrel, and you see this little bar right here. It actually actuates a piston rod that hits on the bolt carrier. So instead of like a direct impingement like your standard ARs, to where it basically poops where it eats, and directs gas up here and directs it all the way back, and then uses that gas to push the bolt back. The gas is only staying up here and then actuating the bolt and pushing it back. Now, one thing that will happen with Tavors is they do get a little bit hot up here. It's definitely not discomforting, and you can still use it, but it does get a bit hot at times. But what you're gaining, it's a no-brainer. I'd rather deal with that than anything. Also, one thing I've noticed with this is just when you're carrying it around at the range outside all day, instead of having your hand right here, you can actually just rest your hand right here, and the rifle just sits pretty much perfectly balanced, which is really nice. Just if you're trekking around all day and you get a good control of the rifle. Now, the reason for that is, like I said, you have the action all behind here. What occurs with the Tavor is because you have all the weight pretty much of the rifle, the main 80% of it back here, it's pretty light up here. What that aids is when you actually shoulder the rifle, it will want to stay in close to you. So if you if you have something real heavy right around you right now, take it, grab it with both hands, and extend out from your chest as far as you possibly can and see how long you can hold it there. Do the same thing, bring it close to your chest and see how long you can hold it there. It's a lot easier when the weight's closer to center of mass of your body. And with the weight being here, you can pretty much have it in your shoulder all day and you won't get tired. That's actually one thing that the IMI, supplying the rifles for the IDF, have requested, is they want to be able to still shoulder the rifle, be at a high ready stance, but not have to have their auxiliary hand if they're trying to grab a bite, grab some wood or something like that when they're sitting on patrol, guarding whatever they are for all day. So they're still at that ready position, but they're not getting tired, they're not getting strained, they're not, and they also have that free hand without needing that supporting hand to where it's, making you weak. So, good little thing about bullpups. All bullpups act like that in generally, but the Tavor especially is well balanced in my opinion. Now, I know this review is getting long here, so if you guys have stayed for this long, thank you. I appreciate it. I had a 2-minute gushing session in the beginning there, so excuse that. But we're gonna go on to one final part of it, is takedown of this. Now, everyone knows how to take down a standard AR-15. The Tavor is a bit different, but a bit better. So let me grab a little pin here, grab a little something. Push this out. So, like I was saying, ARs, it differs by how it bleeds off the gas. It runs like an AK in that aspect. So if you think of like an AK, how that action works, it's almost similar to that. So again, another reason why I love it. Now, takedown has 2 pins. One up here, and I'll show you the other one. They are captured, so it's nice. You just take a tip of something. I just have a little cleaning rod device here, and it swings down. Once you have the action here, you basically just grab back and pull it out, and there is your entire not fire control group, your entire bolt assembly mechanism. So you see the piston there. you see your bolt face and just how it basically works. So it's actuating in here, so this gets pushed back, this pushes this back, which pushes this back in turn. So that's pretty much it as far as cleaning. Then once you can look down here, you can see it is all metal reinforced, and you run that cleaning rod, boop, right out the barrel, and this is all you need to do. Now it does take, I won't take it down any farther, but you see it does have standard kind of pins, and it essentially works just like an AR. Now one thing as well is your fire control group. So if you ever want to replace a trigger pack or anything like that, you just pull this down, push this pin. If I can push this pin, there we go. Oh, come on. Sorry, 2 pins. So you pop that pin, and then basically, there's your entire fire control group. So there's your trigger pack and the hammer and everything like that. Now this is polymer, so some people don't like that. I plan on replacing this with a Geissele, and that's one downside I will bring up while we have the trigger group out here, is because the action does have these operating rods and it does have to kind of move a bunch of things. The trigger isn't the best. It's about an 8-pound pool. It's pretty crisp. It's usable. It's a military trigger. It's a bit heavier than mil spec like an AR, but I would put it on par with mil spec. So it's nothing crazy. It's a trigger. It works. But if you want something nicer, or if you come from ARs, you will definitely notice a difference. But it's not breaking by any means. Put this back. Just goes. You make sure you line it up right. Put it back up. Take your little pin, pop that pin, and sometimes it does take a bit of finagling. You got to line up the holes just right. There we go. So trigger group back in. Take this down. Take your bolt carrier. Oh, come on. What am I doing? Oh. I'm looking, I'm like, that don't look right. The pin popped out as I was down. I was like, I don't think it works like that. And you basically just insert this back in. Give a little push. Now you will see that this is a bit under spring tension, so you do have to rotate the plate back up. You do have to kind of give it like a little push. And there you go. You're all good, ready to go. Function check. Okay. And everything is working. So guys, that is my in-depth review of the IWI Tavor. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys have one, if you guys like the Tavor, if you guys like Bullpups, or you hate them like Brandon Herrera. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe. And if you stayed this long, thank you very, very much. I hope you did truly enjoy. And I hope everyone is having a wonderful, awesome, fantastic day. I'll catch you guys next time. See you guys.